Kansas City Chiefs former now offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy has decided to go to the Washington Commanders to become their new offensive coordinator slash assistant head coach. In order to move on, you had to have a promotion. So the promotion part was the assistant head coach. Do you guys think Eric Bieniemy made a wise decision to leave the Chiefs for the Commanders? Jay, I'm gonna come to you because you got a slight little smirk on your face.
Look, I've kind of y'all saw we texted about it, and I was like, look, I didn't understand it. Right, to me, from the outside looking in, it didn't look like it made a whole lot of sense. Why would you leave Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league, to go to Washington, where we don't really even know who the quarterback's going to be, and an offense that struggles? So just initially when I saw it, it was a head scratcher for me. It didn't make sense. But then I kind of listened to some other people talk about it, thought about it a little bit more. And then that one thing that kept coming back to me is that coaches, I've never met a coach that never thought that they couldn't be the guy to turn something around. So I feel like the enemy probably feels like he hasn't gotten the respect that he deserves in Andy Reid's shadow. And maybe the only way he's going to get the credit that he feels like he deserves is to go off and do it on his own. So I get it from that standpoint. I don't know. If it were me, I probably would have stayed put. I mean, how many more years is Andy Reid going to coach? Sure. But I've kind of softened on my position. I'm not mad at the enemy for wanting to go do his own thing, for wanting to prove himself, for wanting to kind of show people that, hey, I can be a head coach in the NFL. So I'm kind of neutral about it now, Britt. If it was me, I would have stayed, but I'm not mad at the enemy for trying to find a new opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think I'm mad about it neither. I was reading through Twitter, and I seen a couple of posts, and they were saying how, well, it might be his attitude, it might be this. I'm like, well, also might not be that. It might just be he's in Andy Reid's shadow. When you're dealing with a great future Hall of Fame head coach, he tends to get all the credit. So it's unfortunate that Andy Reid gets all the credit. I mean, granted, so he's a great coach, but we do know Eric Bieniemy is also a great playmaker. Play caller. Makes great adjustments throughout the game, and he just needs his opportunity. And I think this will give him his opportunity, like you were saying, Jay. The Commanders, though, that's the only thing. It's like the Commander, that is just toxic environment. But hopefully, he can go take his energy. He can make it into something positive. I know they're getting ready to sell the team, or they're in that process. Hopefully, that daggone owner doesn't refuse too much longer or come back with something else crazy. But this might be his opportunity to show, hey, I can help change this organization. I could turn things around. And it's a bad offense right now. It's a terrible offense. Their current head coach now, he could just focus on the defense, and Eric Bieniemy can focus on calling the plays for the offense. And this would be his chance to be that head coach that we think he should all be or should have already been. But K-Rock, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you guys touched on every point that I was going to make. But just to add to that, yeah, it's just one of those things where you want to see if it was really Andy Reid making those play calls or making those adjustments. For sure, I personally thought it was Andy Reid. A lot of people are saying it's Eric Bieniemy. So it went back and forth. It's 50-50, 48, 48, 52, however you want to look at it, to see who's actually to give credit to. But we're going to find that out for sure. Now, going to Washington, as you guys mentioned, that's definitely a challenge within itself right now. Right now, they're all in on Sam Howell, or so they say that they're all in on Sam Howell, the second-year guy out of North Carolina. He showed some promise down the stretch. They do have a good running game with Gibson. They do have McLaurin, a decent receiver as well. We all know about that defense for sure. But going back to the offense, it's a challenge. We're going to see if Sam Howell is going to be there, if they're going to bring in another a veteran receiver, a veteran quarterback, because there are free agent quarterbacks. I know we're going to dive into that, and later on in the show, but there are free agent quarterbacks out there that probably could fit Eric Bieniemy's system. Obviously, he's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes, But it's going to be very interesting to see, how if it was Eric Bieniemy or if it was Andy Reid. And I know it's not going to be a fair shake for Bieniemy because it is Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing though, well, and Britt, I think Britt, you mentioned like getting out from under Andy Reid's shadow. Like we've seen other coaches manage to get out from underneath that shadow, right? There's been some guys that have worked under Andy Reid that didn't have any problem getting those head coaching jobs. So I'm just wondering, like, is it something else about Eric Bieniemy? Like, is he not interviewing great? Do the owners just not want him to be a head coach? Is it something from his past? Like, what is it about Bieniemy that is seemingly holding him up? Because we've seen other coaches manage to get out from underneath Andy Reid's shadow, but for some reason, Bieniemy just can't seem to get over that hump.
I don't know. But the one thing I will say, you don't really ever hear of any players say they don't like him or they dislike him. So that's the one positive. So he seems like, he's tough. We all seen, I don't know if you guys seen it, but I'm pretty sure most of us seen a clip of him and Patrick Mahomes going back and forth. Because Eric Bieniemy said, no, I'm doing it this way. We're going to do it this way. But Patrick Mahomes was like, no, let's do it this way. So that shows me right there that Eric Bieniemy had more say-so than what most of us thought, So Andy Reid did not, he's the head coach, but he did delegate and allow Eric Bieniemy to make certain calls throughout the game. So maybe it is an interview thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a color thing. I don't know. Like we just don't know. We don't know. But I guess we'll find out later. We recently had two former players. LaShawn McCoy said one thing, but then Tyreek Hill said something else. So we just don't know, and I guess we'll find out. But good luck to him. I no longer like him anymore because now he's a rival. So I hope